Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I am definitely the least important person on this panel today. A lot of y'all came to the All Black National Convention, and you saw just Black excellence on full display. You saw Black intelligence everywhere. You saw Black love, Black family, these powerful Black people, and three of those powerful Black people are three of the individuals that I get the honor and privilege of introducing to you today. And we're just gonna kind of have a Blackness panel. You guys know that we've always talked about Black people having our own conversations about our issues in our way. And these are just three great people that I know. If you don't already know them and love them, you will know them and love them afterward. The first person is Dr. Oya Ma'at. Dr. Ma'at is a professor of engineering at Morgan State University. That's pretty dang impressive. Not just an engineer, but a professor of engineering. Not just a professor, but a professor of engineering. People got to know the difference. Being a professor or being an engineer, both of those things are hard. It's really hard to be a professor of engineering. So welcome, Dr. Ma'at. I'm very happy to see you.
Well,
All right.
pleasure to see you, Doc.
The pleasure is all mine. The next person I would like to introduce you to is Zakia Sankara Jabbar. Zakia Sankara Jabbar. Zakia Sankara Jabbar, my homegirl. She's the host of a great show on YouTube that everybody should follow called Real Talk with ZSJ. She's extremely conscious, very intelligent, has a lot of great things to say. How you doing today, Zakia?
I am doing well. Glad to be here with all of you.
Yes, it is an honor to have you. The next one, last but certainly not least, is my brother, Mr. Julian Walker. He is the CEO and co-founder of Push Black, one of the baddest, blackest, most powerful platforms on the entire internet universe. How you doing today, brother?
Excellent. Appreciate you having me, Doc.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you're here. All right, so everybody, give the guests a big Black welcome. Put your B1s in the chat. Let us know what city you're from, and let's just kind of jump in. Let's get it started. Okay, so this week in Blackness, we've had a crazy week or two. I'm going to start with what I think is kind of the biggest elephant in the room, because we can even get to stuff related to the elections and all that, and I think that's related to this too. But you had this whole issue with Kyrie Irving, Kanye West, and just sort of this general, weird, almost like cancel culture on steroids that they sort of saved up for disobedient Black men. The men that they found that they believe didn't say the things they wanted to say, didn't apologize hard enough. I guess they got on one knee and didn't get on both knees. And I just thought it was just really interesting to observe. And so I'll start with you, Dr. Ma'at. This past week, how have you been feeling kind of watching, just all this stuff that's been going on with Kyrie and beyond that, and just kind of what that means, not just Kyrie, but just the reaction to him?
Absolutely. And again, thank you so much for inviting me on your platform, Dr. Boyce Watkins, and peace to all of the people on the panel, Brother Julian and Sister Zakia. This is just as a student of history, we see that this is there's nothing new under the sun, right? And so what we're seeing is, I would call it a digital, sort of buck breaking, right? And so, back in the day, and I know many of you who are students of history are familiar with how things went on the plantation. You would take, the slave master used to take out the strongest men, or they would call us bucks. They would call the men bucks, and they would bring the strongest men, the men that we admired and held in high regard. The slave master would, bring him out there if he got out of line, and he would beat us he would beat the man in front of everybody, and to break him, and we would say to buck break him. And so literally that's what we're seeing in the 21st century. We're seeing modern day buck breaking. Kyrie Irving and Kanye are people that are very important to our culture. We hold them in very high regards. A lot of people follow them and listen to them. We love their music. I know that Kanye is a fashion, person and try to become a fashion guru. But that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing them being broken. So they got out of line. They said some things that wasn't pleasing to the dominant society. The dominant society is now checking them and doing it in the eyes, in the eyes of the world. And so again, this is modern day buck breaking that we are witnessing, and it's unfortunate. A lot of bones are being put out about Kanye and Kyrie that simply aren't true. They're being labeled as anti-Semitic. Meaning that you're against, people of Semitic origin, but we can debate that whether or not we are anti-Semitic, because some people say we are, of Semitic origin, so that could be, up for debate. But nonetheless, there was nothing that Kanye, because I actually sat down and I watched the Drink Champs interview. I watched probably the first 2 hours of it. And I also went to the post. I believe that Kyrie Irving took the post down now, but I did see the post that he put up about he's promoting a movie that was on Amazon. But nothing these men said to me, nothing they said was anti anybody. I think, Kanye made some great points. I mean, there were some other points that he made that I didn't agree with, but regarding the Jews and how they control the media and how they control, the finances. I mean, that was on point. And Kyrie Irving, all he did was watch a documentary on Amazon or something like that and posted the documentary. But none of these guys spewed any hate. It wasn't any hate or any bigotry towards anyone. And I think that it's very disappointing to see other Black men not stand by the sides,
Right.
of Kyrie Irving and brother Kanye.
Okay, so Zakia, I was thinking about that in terms of what I was. I mean, none of it surprised me, right? In terms of the reaction, and I mean, I think I was surprised that they were that bold. But what was really fascinating to me was the way other Black men in the NBA reacted. Like big, strong, powerful, wealthy men bragging about how much money they got and how how important they are. But they folded just like little leaves. Like they were scared and kind of, well, I don't stand by hate and almost like going out of their way. Like they were trying to punish Kyrie to say, yeah, go get him. It was just so weird. I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone. What do you think, Zakia?
I was very disappointed. I felt like Kevin Durant tried to keep it a G. He was like, I don't like none of it. And basically, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Like he wasn't all like LeBron. Like LeBron just went too far. And I have actually been a LeBron fan since the brother came out. I'm also from Northeast Ohio in terms of, that area of the country and everything. And so, I really loved his story, initially and things like that. But I was really turned off by him in the comments, because the thing of it is that just like the rest of the players in the NBA, shut up. If you scared, just don't say nothing. You didn't have to do that. Like, just don't say nothing. You don't have to hurt the brother anymore. You know what I mean? But I think what's interesting, and shout out to Honorable Louis Farrakhan. I was so grateful to hear him break his silence. Of course, I follow a lot of brothers in the nation. And the nation, shout out to them. They have been standing unapologetically by both Ye and Kyrie from the beginning, and they took a lot of heat for it, particularly when they were standing by Ye before Kyrie thing even happened. But I just want to say, all Black people were not on the whole, buck breaking, let's throw them away. The vast majority of Black people that I saw in terms of just everyday regular Black people were pushing back and was just like, who do these people think they are? Like, what hate are you talking about? Especially with Kyrie, because it's like, Sister Maya said, he didn't even say nothing. All he did was post the link, literally. Like he didn't say, ooh, go watch this. He didn't like give any commentary. He literally just dropped the link. And these people was like, he's promoting it. Like they really went hard at the brother. But what I appreciated about Kyrie, because I don't know if I agree that Kyrie was buck broken, because he stood and he's still standing. He still never accepted that he was anti-Semitic. He said, I can't be that because I know who I am. So I read between the lines on that, right? Like he never accepted what the media was trying to push. Go back and listen to what he said. He never accepted their narrative, ever. And he still has not did those 6 things. And he better not. I'm listening, Kyrie, hold out. We love you. We got you. People got you. So I don't think that Kyrie was buck broken. I mean, I think that they're trying. And they want to whip him, like do what we tell you to do. I mean, he apologized. That's fine. I think, he finally just came to the point where it was just like, okay, well, if they hurt, okay, I'll say this. But even when you read the apology from me, because I'm a very strategic person, like Was it an apology? I kind of read through the lines, you know what I mean? Like, kind of. So the brother is smart. I'm gonna say that he's not a dumb, you know, he's not dumb, and he's still searching. Like the minister said, he's still reading. Like I went through his Instagram. The brother was posting books by Baba Mwalimu Baruti. He's a former, you know, professor at Morehouse University. He's like, in the conscious community, one of the best teachers out there, who's still very much alive down in Atlanta. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, this brother ain't nowhere near as dumb as people trying to like say he is, because, you know, around the Hebrew Israelite piece or whatever. But I don't think that Kyrie was butt broken. I do think they tried, and he resisted. He's still resisting. So shout out to Kyrie.
Oh yeah, you know, it's really interesting, and you know, and by the way, if you just came in, I'm speaking with Dr. Ma'at and Zacchaeus Sinkar Jabbar and Julian Walker, and we're really talking about, you know, almost like this week in blackness, but you can't do that without talking about Kyrie and Kanye and everything else that's been going on. So everybody that's coming in, hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also hit the notification bell. Because I tend to notice that whenever we talk about topics like this, we kind of get muted by the social media platforms. But let's unmute that by hitting that notification bell so you'll be notified and all that stuff. So Julian, you know, one thing I was thinking about was I felt a little bit awkward, just even as a black man, to kind of see what was kind of going on in the reactions to Kyrie. It was very interesting to me because I think I saw where the NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, actually the headline I saw was that he said Kyrie is not anti-Semitic, which was interesting because I also felt that, like, sort of once the white guy on top said, okay, you know, I don't think he's that bad. And then also when these celebrities on TV started hearing from the community, you know, hearing from that new black media that everybody wants to pretend like isn't there, they started kind of backpedaling a little bit. They started to, well, I'm really black and I don't be questioning my blackness and everything else. But I feel like they kind of got punked. I feel like they really played themselves because there's a lot of other ways you could have handled it. They could have just been silent or taken some other strategy. What were your feelings as you kind of watched all this kind of happen? And by the way, feel free to have an opinion that's different from others on the panel. I don't assume all of us agree on the Kyrie thing. I'd love to get your thoughts, brother.
Absolutely. So I think this is a great example of the need for independent black media that allows us to share our voices and share our own perspectives without a fear of a backlash at the worst, without the fear of a economic repercussions. I think that one of the challenges that these brothers are facing is that their wealth and their livelihood and their just public personas are so tied up in the system that's not controlled by people who look like us, and a lot of their, you know, people that they're selling their shoes or the albums or the clothes to are also maybe not even primarily in the community, and the people who write those contracts are not part of our community. So they have a way of saying, you know, you can go so far. We'll take a few of you up and out, so to speak, and we'll let you go so far if you stick to the script. But if you propose any sort of opposing viewpoints that goes against the dominant narrative that we believe is in the safe scope of conversation, then there's going to be some kind of repercussion. And, you know, since in this society money's what rules it, they have the power to do that. But if you look at some other folks who are artists, entertainers in our community who over the past couple of years have been so-called canceled, or there's been a call to cancel them, some of those brothers and sisters are still eating. They have direct ties to the community, and the community, if the community supports you, is not gonna let you fall. And I think that there's clear examples of that And I think that what these brothers are facing is an example of what happens when your portfolio is you have all your eggs in a certain basket, but perhaps not enough in another basket. I think Kanye has built up a lot of credibility in the community, but I think the challenge here that I see is that he still, unfortunately, seems to put whiteness on a pedestal in many ways. Which I'm a huge Kanye fan from the beginning, but you notice over the years how like many Black folks who reach high spaces, they put whiteness on a pedestal. And so, and a lot of the calls that he's making for us to support him is more so support him as an individual, despite the fact that he may not necessarily be vocalizing things that speak largely on behalf or in favor of the community as much as himself and his personal interests. And I think that's the danger of accepting these values that the society has conditioned us to accept, such as individualism over something like communalism, where it's like, okay, support Kanye saying support me because I'm a Black person. Y'all shouldn't let them do this to me. But I'm seeing a disconnect these days in terms of the way Kanye is standing for the community as opposed to standing for himself.
Well, let me ask you this question then, Dr. Mott. That's a great, I'm going to piggyback off what Julian said. We tend to, in this general conversation about, whether it's anti-Semitism and we've been talking about Hebrews and Negroes and Hebrews to Negroes. And that's the name of the documentary, by the way, that got Kyrie all his problems, but I'm glad he retweeted it because that guy who made that movie is going to make about $50 million. I hope. God bless
that brother making a killing right now.
Oh man, it's what's so cool is like I think these are things that Black people should talk about. This is that so-called alternative learning that nobody gets that in school. So it's like, okay, well, who are the original Jews? Since you're working so hard to cover that up, I think a lot of people are like, well, let me listen and find out the truth on this. I think that's great. But Dr. let me ask you this question. So people have kind of clumped Kyrie and Kanye in the same category in this whole conversation, but I think they're different. And I think Julian touched on that a little bit. So what is the difference in your mind between what Kanye went through and what Kyrie was going through, and also how Kyrie and Kanye are received and perceived by the community?
Oh, absolutely. When Brother Julian was talking, Dr. Boyce Watkins, I thought about Zakiya and myself. We were tearing your butt up underneath one of your posts. You put up a post claiming that Kanye was B1, that he was Black first. And so I went under the comment section and I said, no, he's not. And then so then Sister Zakiya came underneath the comment and she was like, exactly, he's not B. And so people were mad at Sister Zakiya and I for saying that Kanye West isn't B1. And so clearly you can look at his wife. How can you go around and claim you're B1 and you married whiteness, right? Because we are what we marry. You understand what I'm saying? So I always tell people, and even my family will tell you, I talk about this with the young people in my family. You are what you marry, okay? Or you become what you marry. When you marry someone, when you marry someone, you're not only marrying that person, you're marrying their ethnicity, you're marrying their culture, you're marrying their psychology, you're marrying their history, you're marrying their morals, you're marrying their values, you're marrying their group agenda. That's what you're marrying into. So when Kanye picked Kim as a partner, that already told me what I needed to know about Kanye. It told me that ultimately, that he values whiteness because he married it and he procreated with it. And then on the Drink Champs, I don't want to say special, but the Drink Champs interview with Kanye, he got upset when Noriega asked him a question. He said about White Lives Matter. He said, my wife is white. My children are white. And I'm like, Kanye, first you said your children were Black. Right? 5 minutes ago, your children were Black. Now, when they mention White Lives Matter, you're screaming and having a temper tantrum. My wife is white. My children are white. Wait a minute, Kanye. And so, as Brother Julian stated earlier, he does put whiteness on a pedestal. When you even listen to how he speaks about Kim, You know, he
Yeah.
adores her. And I'm not saying that a man shouldn't adore his wife. That's not what I'm saying. But look at who he is adoring. He
Mhm.
adores whiteness. And so, and there are even clips of
That's
him.
real.
Yeah, there are even clips of him floating around on the internet where he's empathizing with white men.
Yeah.
With white men. One could easily make
man.
the case that Kanye West wants to be a white man. That case could be easily made. And so I think that those are differences between Kyrie Irving. When you go to his Instagram page, I'm not sure if he's married or not, but I did see a sister on his page, you know, and he was kissing her and telling her love is love or something. I love you, baby. So he has a black wife. I'm not sure if the brother has children. He probably does. I'm sure if he does, they're black children. You know, he's someone that I would consider B1 more so than a Kanye West.
Well, you know, I think that's a great statement. And, you know, given that I spent some time talking to Kanye, I definitely should respond to that and say that a lot of what you said makes perfect sense. I'm not even, first of all, I think this is a great opportunity for us to really let everybody know, like, this is a platform for all free ideas, you know, and I love when we disagree, because we got to explore all the ideas, right? And what my conclusion with with Kanye, without divulging, you know, too much of our personal conversation, because we talked a lot, is that he is a complex person. And I did flat out say, I said, look, you know, when I look at another black person, I try to find the areas that we can align on. And I said, some areas, some things in your life I don't understand. I don't think much about Jewish people. You think about them a lot. I don't think much about white people. You think about them a lot. I don't want to go to fashion shows in Paris. I think that's weird. I said, and I also told him, I said, I would probably never marry a Kardashian. I can't imagine myself marrying a Kardashian, because I think that's going to create trouble. I did say, you know, I had to say that to make it clear, you know, look, we're not the same. Where I aligned with Ye, you know, at least in theory, was his respect for Powernomics, Dr. Claude Anderson. And also, there was a part of the conversation we were talking, and where he asked me to record it. You know, there's a three-way with me, him, and Noriega, and I think Diddy and somebody, and Russell Simmons were on. He was texting. He kind of, his brain kind of goes in a million directions at once. And we were talking about Takeoff getting killed in Houston, and there was a point where, you know, the black Kanye came out, the Southside Chicago Donda Kanye. Well, we're gonna do this all black, all black, all black, all black, all black. And that's where I'm like, okay, I can rock with that. But I agree with you 100%. You know, the White Lives Matter shirt, I don't understand that. Some of the other antics, I'm like, okay, that's just a rapper trying to get publicity. Marrying the Kardashian, you're asking for trouble. And I had to make that line clear. But the thing about it, so in my view, I would argue that we have the ability, we must have the ability to decide, at least be clear about where we align and where we don't align. Because if you think about it, so much division happens in our community because I'm a Democrat and you're a Republican, or, you know, I'm straight and you're gay. And I think we got to be thoughtful about that. But to your point, though, I happen to align with you on that. I think that a black man marrying a black woman is one of the most direct ways to show how committed you are to the black community.
That's a fact.
There's no greater asset I can share with another person than my life. You know, so if I give my life to a black woman and to a black family, that for me personally, I would not feel the same sitting there talking to you if I had Becky on my arm cheering me on, saying "Go black man, go." That would just look awkward and weird, you know.
Exactly.
So, you know, but so it's hard, right? It's hard because I have really cool black friends who are very pro-black, who happen to have a wife who's not black.
I be saying that. I don't understand brothers like that. I don't.
Yeah, it does, and I think it should be talked about. I really do.
Absolutely.
So Zakia, I'm gonna pass the ball to you because I want you to go next, because I said too much. I apologize. I just really wanted to. I had to share that part about Ye because I did get the insight, and it was like, okay, let's, you know, I've talked to Dr. Claude Anderson's talked to him, and part of it is like an educational process. Like, let me just kind of give you a worldview, and he was listening. And he embraced a lot of the values that I talk about right here on the platform. So I'm not throwing that away, but I do agree with you. You know, there is work that has to be done with a lot of the entertainers, right? So
Absolutely. And Doc, I just wanted to say this. I don't trust anybody who talks black and sleep white. I just wanted to say that. I don't trust anybody
say
like
that.
Yeah.
I don't trust nobody that talk black and sleep white.
Well, I'm gonna take a sip of my coffee on that one. Zakia, go ahead, girl. What do you have to say to that? I know you got a lot to say. You are next. Go ahead, sister.
Shout out to Dr. Maya for that. No sleeping white and talking black. We can't really get with that. But I agree with you in terms of Gabe being a very complex person. I don't know if you guys saw the most recent video that's out, where he talked about his mother being sacrificed. He's dealing with a lot. He's holding a lot. He needs to tread lightly around the minister, but he was loving in saying, I love the minister, but he felt like something that the minister said was a slight and that he wanted to talk to him. But he probably need to be careful about how he frames things around the minister, because that man got a whole army that will tighten him up before any white folk can get to him. Just chill. So the complex part, and I think I still have even empathy for him, because like that's just who I am. I love black people, yes, he did have a white wife, they're divorced now. But I still have some empathy for the brother. And here's the thing, even though we have our challenges with him, what black people have to learn how to do is not join the lynching party because a black person does something that we don't like. That's what I didn't like about what I saw on social media, was like people willing to throw him away, throw him to these people, even though what they are doing is literally, like we were saying earlier, buck breaking and lynching. Because what they did to him was straight up buck breaking, lynching, everything else. I stood my ground just like the NOI. I am not joining the lynching party. I don't care that he wore White Lives Matter. We got plenty of confused black folks in our community. Plenty. I'm not throwing them away. That's just my politics. You know what I mean? And I just think that, clearly, the brother needs some help. I don't know who he has around him. I feel like he feels like he can't trust anybody. You know what I mean? Clearly, his mother is gone. And when I saw him say that his mother was sacrificed, and then he started naming Michael Jordan and saying same thing with his father. Then he named Dr. Dre. I didn't know Dr. Dre's son was dead. I didn't know anything about that. He named a bunch of people, Bill Cosby's son. I do remember that. And he was just like, yeah, why do people in Hollywood come up missing? That brother, he literally said, like, he said, it's up. That's what he said. He said, I don't care. I'm naming everybody. And so the other thing that I have to say here is that I am concerned about his safety. We do know these people disappear people. So I'm actually concerned about the brother's safety, because he really is like got diarrhea of the mouth.
Yeah. I think it's a great point. And Julian, I'll pass the ball to you. And by the way, everybody, I'm speaking with three amazing panelists, and I want to make sure I say their names. Dr. Oya Ma'at, who is a professor of engineering at Morgan State University. Zakia Sankara Jabbar, who is the host of Real Talk with ZSJ. I need y'all to go follow that show. It's a really good one. And also Julian Walker, who's the CEO and founder of Push Black, one of the great platforms out here with millions of followers. And all three of these individuals have their own platforms and do amazing work. And I really hope that you will support them, because we must build our own media. Also, speaking of building media, if everybody could take 1 second right now, hit that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button with the notification bell. Please do that. Put your B1 in the chat after you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Notification bell is important so that you will be notified when we go live, so we can get you guys in here to have these important conversations. So, Brother Julian, let me pass the ball to you. Okay, so we talked about the difference between Kanye and Kyrie, and one big difference with Kanye is that we know he's a raging Republican, and I get a sense that on Push Black, your platform isn't necessarily in that conservative space. You guys are big social justice warriors in so many amazing ways, and how do you deal with that? How do you deal personally and as an organization just with the fact that politically speaking, Black people have diversity, and there are some people that we admire who say, I don't want to be a Democrat anymore. I want to do something different. And some of them will go all the way over, to become Republicans. How do you navigate that space, man? That's got to be tough for you.
Yeah. So Push Black is a nonpartisan organization, and we believe that we should let all the ideas just out into the space so the people can decide what makes sense for our lives and our liberation. Um, when it comes to the question of Black conservatives or Black Republicans and Black Democrats, I personally, I'll speak on behalf of myself. I personally um, like to see ourselves outside of that. I think that we have been put into this system where there's two options to choose from, two wings on the same bird. It's a falsification of the reality, and we've been sort of put into this political and culture wars people that we are flocking to for a number of reasons throughout history. But the way I'm challenging our team as we're pushing forward with content is to see ourselves outside of that. There should be, in the mainstream political arena, the dominant society can have their Democratic Party, they can have the Republican Party, but Black folks need to be able to look at both sides and see, what makes the most sense for our lived experiences. And that could very well be neither one of those. And I suspect that it's likely neither one of those wholesale. So, Push Black is about 6-7 years old now, and we are it sounds sometimes older than it is, but it's still pretty young as we're a growing team. So we're shaping how we approach content and trying to make sure that there is more of a nuance and a balance when we're looking at the political spectrum and not endorsing specific candidates that don't have, well, not supporting any specific candidates really, but really focusing on a Black agenda. And that's one of the projects that we've taken on starting in 2020, this idea of contributing to a Black agenda that is dictated by the masses. So Push Black does so much listening to our community intentionally through surveying, through the comment sections, through calls. I'm on the phone with our subscribers myself, listening to what people are thinking and saying and feeling and what type of challenges they have in their lives, in their communities, in their family. The intention here is to understand what those concerns are and then amplify them in a way that the mainstream media will not. And so our content, for example, goes through a rigorous testing process where we listen to the audience, we put out content that we think makes sense for what they're telling us, and then we put out the top content that the audience responds to. So everything you'll see on our platform is stuff that is not just like Push Black is saying this is what needs to go out, but Push Black has tested this with literally 60,000 Black folks before sending it out to our audience of millions or hundreds of thousands, depending on the day. So our role, the way we see our role, is amplifying the concerns and not necessarily being one of those organizations that chooses and says, this is what, role Black folks need to follow. Because there's a history of the Black media really prioritizing a certain set of values that's dictated from up top.
That is so true.
For sure. And it's usually Black middle class, Black bourgeoisie values. So E. Franklin Frazier talked about this in the book Black Bourgeoisie, and Dr. Amos Wilson expands on it in chapter 11 of Blueprint for Black Power, and identifying this issue and how Black media usually focuses on a certain set of values that get them closer to proximity to whiteness. So we're trying to flip that model on its head and be more in touch with the people and amplify those voices. So I think sometimes we do that in very amazing ways, and we still have, great opportunity to continue building on that to make sure we're serving the community and giving those options that are putting Black priorities first and not confining ourselves to these artificial frameworks that have been passed down to us.
Do you partner with Black organizations, like Black nonprofits that's doing social justice work?
So that's the next step of our work. Right now, we're in the middle of a research phase, really digging into what issues we want to stand on in a more tangible way. And our intention is to connect with grassroots organizations and local communities.
Because I run one. I'm just,
There we go. All right, so we got to talk then. Yeah, that's our intention. Is since we have masses of Black folks that are on our platform, we want to connect folks with the action. And I'm sure you all get comments like this too, where you'll be speaking about something or writing about something on your platform and folks saying like, yo, this is great, but what's next? What can I do? How can I get involved? And so I believe we have the power to, or the ability and the opportunity to partner with grassroots organizations in the community and connect folks in our audience with those actions on the ground. So we can also take direct actions and not just think that voting alone is going to solve all our problems.
Yes.
Exactly, brother. And brother Julian, you mentioned Blueprint for Black Power. I'm so glad that you did, because when you were talking about Black people looking at the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and then kind of deciding on where we're going to go based on our interests, I was thinking about it, how in Blueprint for Black Power, Dr. Amos Wilson recommended that we start our own he called it a Black national political party. So he was saying, look, we shouldn't be affiliated with either one of them. He said, because both of them are two wings on the same plane. So he said we should establish our own Black political party. And he said not that our candidates will get elected, but he said that it's a way that we can organize the Black vote and leverage those votes to get what we want. So that's one thing that I had thought about while you were talking, brother Julian and sister Zakiya. When you were talking, I thought about when you were saying how you say I can't throw them away. And I totally get your point, and I agree with what you said. You said not kind of joining in the lynching, when you see them coming out, brothers or sisters, regardless of how we feel about them, not joining in the lynch mob. So I 100% agree with that. But when you also talked about, not throwing people away. And there's one thing, Dr. Boyce Watkins, that I had to learn. I had to learn you can't save everyone either. Sometimes you do have to kind of like there may be your brother and sister, but sometimes you got to love your brother and sister, from a distance. You can't, everybody's not going to go. And that's just a reality. And that was a hard conversation that I had with, shout out to brother David Banner. We were talking about it. We can't save all Black people. We just can't. So what we should be focused on is networking and collaborating with like minds and building with like minds, but we can't save everyone. I just kind of wanted to say that.
Yeah, I think it's a great.
I totally agree. Yeah, I just want to. Yeah, I mean, I don't see that as mutually exclusive, because you said you can love them from afar. If we're loving them from afar, I don't see that as throwing them away.
Okay, gotcha.
You see what I'm saying?
Like, yeah, I'm with you.
And I'm still not going to join the lynch mob from no other group of a person. You know what I mean? So I agree. Oh, Lord, I agree. Honey, I can tell you some stories about being hurt by our people. You know what I mean? Because the other thing I wanted to share is not only, do I host Real Talk with ZSJ, but my everyday work, my husband and I run a grassroots organization that we started in the state of Ohio. It's called Racial Justice Now. And we do policy and advocacy work. We literally do the work on a local level, now in Maryland as well, around education justice and making sure our children have what they need. So the policy and advocacy piece in the grassroots organizations, I don't think we talk about that enough in terms of how we should be supporting our people who are hyper local and not necessarily, the ones who are on the media and the ones who are, getting dollars from, what's the white man name everybody be talking about? George, whatever. Yeah. So I mean, we got grassroots Black folks, trust me, in every community. I know they're in Baltimore too, like in every community that's doing important work. And so That's why I was like, do you partner with the grassroots? Because those are the groups that I think we can trust because they actually have the relationships and connections with the people on the ground.
Boots on the ground.
I was in Dayton. Somebody said, what part of Ohio? I was in Dayton, Ohio for 20 years. Racial Justice Now. You can Google us.
Okay. All right, everybody. By the way, I'm speaking with Dr. Oya Ma'at, who's a professor of engineering at Morgan State University. Zakia Sankar Jabbar, who is the host of Real Talk with ZSJ. Also, Julian Walker, the CEO and co-founder of Push Black, an extraordinary organization that has millions of people, millions of followers, and they do extraordinary work. And I actually co-host a podcast with Push Black. I'm very flattered to be a part of that. When they reached out, I was ecstatic because I love it when Black people are just doing amazing work. And so everybody, if you could take 1 second and hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. You must hit the notification bell if you've already subscribed, because that is the way you'll be notified when we have these intelligent Black conversations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the ball around for one more question I'm going to ask the panelists about. It's a little bit of a political thing. I'd like to get a sense of this last election, or set of elections, the midterms. One of the dominant narratives I saw was particularly as it related to the races in Georgia, where you had just a whole lot of stuff happening down there. And there was this conversation about, who's to blame? If Stacey Abrams doesn't get elected, whose fault is it? Who did what and all that stuff. And so you did have the Roland Martin-ish conversations, and I'm not even I'm gonna tell you just to tell y'all how loving I'm trying to be. I'm not even here to diss Roland or anything like that. In fact, I'm gonna start with a compliment by saying I think Roland.
Julian laughing.
Yeah, Roland is a highly dedicated journalist. I will give him that.
He is dedicated to the Democratic Party.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Right. Democratic Party. Argue that he's a political operative, right? Which I think complicated. So the way it's like that Kanye conversation, right? Where you're trying to grab the good, but some of it's just like what is this crap? But here's the thing. But I think Roland, like everybody else, has a right to have his point of view. But I saw this interesting narrative, almost like. If you're a Black man and you didn't do what you were told in the election, we're gonna get mad at you and blame you. And there are some people really standing up against that. A lot of us. Tesla and Figaro has some great things to say about it also. So I'll start with you, Dr. Ma'at. What observations did you make, Dr. Ma'at, in this last election cycle in terms of how Black folks were kind of dealt with and treated? Everything from the campaign as no voting, no vucking.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible. It was horrible. It was horrible, Dr. Boyce Watkins. That foolishness came across my feed. No voting, no vucking, and I'm like, I actually was so livid. I went to class the next day and had a conversation with my students because I said if it showed up on my feed, I know it showed up on theirs, and we had those conversations. And I always bring those conversations, even though my field is electrical engineering. I bring the real world into my classroom. So we talk about everything because I believe in that when you educate someone, you should be educating the whole person, So we have all of those conversations. We talked about Takeoff when Takeoff was struck by the bullet when he was murdered. I had that conversation with my students. But anyway, going back to your question, Dr. Boyce Watkins. So we saw the foolishness. Okay, so we saw the no voting, no vucking. We saw people twerking for votes. I saw Black women twerking for votes. I think didn't Stacey Abrams, wasn't she twerking for votes? Or she did something. Okay, so I saw all the antics on the internet. I also saw, I'm so tired of the left telling us what it means to be Black. So if you don't vote for me, that doesn't you're not Black. And if you don't vote, you're not a Black man in America. If you don't stop telling us what it means to be Black. We live it every day. We are Black and we live it every day. So stop telling us what it means to be Black. But they blamed Black men when Stacey Abrams didn't get in. They blame Black men, but they blame Black men for everything. So I wasn't surprised, when I saw that. But Black men got blamed for everything. But then you got to ask yourself, when she was campaigning, she didn't speak to Black men at all. She didn't talk about issues that are plaguing Black men. So why then would Black men go out and vote for her if she didn't speak to Black men while she was campaigning? So that just didn't make sense. But yeah, I saw the antics, brother. Go ahead, Doc.
Well, no. I was going to follow up with your point. First of all, the funniest line of that "no voting, no bucking" campaign was, "If you want to get this booty, better do your civic duty." I remember that. That was interesting. Then there was a couple others, but I won't repeat them because children might be watching. But anyway, but let me just say this with the Stacey Abrams campaign. She actually toward the end was trying to appeal to Black men. I don't know if you follow her Twitter, you might have missed it, but like I think on her Twitter and a couple of ads, she talked about I was raised by a Black man. She had her who was hugging her dad. And I saw another time I heard her on NPR where she was talking about Black men, and the only question I would have asked her is, it's the question is not so much whether or not you care about Black men or can relate to them on some level. The question would be, where's the work that you've shown? Where's the track record? Right?
Absolutely.
You're one of the most powerful women in this country. Show us the work that has actually been done in those years that you've been waiting before you ran for governor, because I think that's what builds up the credibility, right? Because I think that the Black electoral base, Zakiya, has gotten more educated to the point where you can't just impress every Black person by saying, well, we register, we got Black people's right to vote in the next election, and we registered Black people to vote. Well, a lot of people see that as, okay, well, so you basically positioned us to do a favor for you. That's not the same as actually doing work for the community. So Zakiya, what were your thoughts on this election and just kind of how it all kind of played out?
So I, want to take a little credit for helping to educate our people around voting, because I've done several shows on Real Talk with ZSJ that's been decently attended by our folks and shared. And I am an independent, and I believe I've talked to you about this before, but I don't come into this conversation as a novice when it comes to electoral politics and all of the sausage and how it's made. Before I co-founded Racial Justice Now and became its executive director, I was very involved in politics in Montgomery County, Ohio. And in Dayton, Ohio. I was a part of the NAACP in high school and in my early 20s. And so, of course, the NAACP is just an offshoot of the Democratic Party in most places. And, people know that. And so I was very much groomed, and shout out to my great aunt, who was the first Black woman to be a superintendent at the Ohio Department of Transportation. So she was very connected to some of the first Black elected officials in the state of Ohio, C.J. McLean being the first one of the class of Black elected officials within the State House of Ohio. So I was from a connected family. So of course, in connected families, there's always the Black leadership in every city. And so I had a front row seat into how politics happened in the city of Dayton and in the county of Montgomery County, Ohio. And when I tell you that it was the way they did things that actually turned me off, my aunt's still beefing with me because I'm like, I don't see how you did this all these years. They are incredibly disrespectful to Black people. And people keep talking about the Republicans. Honey, you ain't seen racism.
That's right.
Until you inside and you see how those Democratic committees operate, honey. So a lot of us, we're just voters. I have seen how they make the sausage. I have seen how they make the decisions on who gets endorsed. You know what I mean? And finally, what was the last straw for me, and I have to share this, was 2016. I was still living in the state of Ohio. We did not relocate to Maryland to 2017. And I saw them undermine the Bernie Sanders campaign in the state of Ohio. I literally saw the Democrats suppress the Black vote. I literally saw them do it. And so when I have shared that, I was like, yay, when it came to it. I'm telling everybody, I know what y'all doing. You know what I mean? And of course, I lost a lot of relationships. The mayor of the city of Dayton, she stopped funding from coming to my organization. So I'm true out here. You know what I mean? So me and my organization and my family have sacrificed so that Black people would know the truth. So I have actually helped new people actually get elected outside of the Democratic Party, because you can do that if you build a grassroots campaign in a city as small as Dayton. And it took a couple of elections for the sister to get elected, but one of my friends is now finally on the city council in Dayton. It took us 3 elections to get her there, because the Democratic Party has such a strong control on most cities in America, that you do have to come outside of the apparatus and really do the grassroots work that is unpaid. Because the grassroots, we don't have the money that the Democratic Party has, because of course they pay a lot of our people and they buy them off to basically serve our community up. The black gatekeepers here, we're gonna rush our people to the polls. It's Sunday, church to the polls. What is it? Souls to the polls. And I'm like, souls to the polls for what? You talking about the party of mass incarceration, so when people were saying black men need to get out and vote for Stacey, and I'm like, but she representative of the Democratic Party. I was like, exactly what has the Democratic Party within the last decade? Let's just start there. What policies at the local, state, national level have they done to improve the material conditions of black people and black men in particular? Name one.
Well, that's ma'am, I must correct you. You said souls to the polls, but that's not as big as the other one, which was booties to the polls.
Lord,
I don't know if y'all remember that. Y'all remember get your booty to the poll, get your booty to they got it all covered. They got you covered on Sunday morning, and then they got you covered at the club on Saturday night. So but to your point, I think that's great. I hope everybody in the chat will give Sister Zakiya all her flowers for being a real soldier for black people, and that leads me to Julian. I'll let you get our last word in here, brother. But Push Black, I was impressed with Push Black because your team has a wonderful mastery of technology, and I see just what an extraordinary entity you guys have become. And if I understand it right, you were founded in Atlanta, so you were in the middle of Georgia, right, with all the Georgia politics, and I'm sure people are taking notice of your ability to shape, how voters think and things like that. What's that like for you, and how do you sort of take that that entity you've created and sway it in a direction where black political influence can be maximized long term? Like, what are some of your thoughts on that?
For sure. So I'm based in Atlanta. Our team is nationwide. So we have broad reach nationwide. And the Georgia runoff is definitely a topic of discussion. As I mentioned, Push Black is nonpartisan. And part of our theory of change is that if we can infuse our content daily with values that we believe will lead to Black liberation above anything else, then people will make decisions for themselves, their families, and their community that will, over time, contribute towards a mass movement towards liberation. And for us, the voter engagement work is a part of that, but it's not the end-all, be-all. We have the power to reach a whole lot of people. So this week, for example, our subscribers sent out or shared 180 million voter engagement messages across the country, and generated nearly 1 million votes based on randomized controlled trials that we've run on our program, between 600,000 and 1 million. What that means for us is that right now, there is absolute power to mobilize Black folks to take actions on what they believe is in their best interests. The challenge is that there's still more work for both Push Black and all independent Black media who has Black people's interests in mind to make sure we are helping the community clarify what our interests are. Because now, more so than anything, our interests are being dictated by forces outside of our community. So I envision a world where we are able to take that power of mobilization and have even more impact when people begin to start taking actions that are even more closely related to the tangible material conditions that we're living in. And I think that for us in our realm of expertise, that comes with media, that comes with culture, that comes from values. So as it relates to this election coming up, there's definitely a lot of interest in the work that we do, and we're just sort of staying the course and saying we're going to keep putting out these Black history stories that give context for the world we live in today and the world we could shape in the future based on these values. And over time, I believe the people will decide what is in our best interests and what is not. And I think that will continue to show up even clearer, even more clearly on election days for years, for decades, hopefully centuries to come.
Imagine that, allowing Black people to think for themselves. That'll make you some enemies right there. Why you let them Negroes think? They ain't supposed to be thinking. They're supposed to be voting and bucking. All right. So anyway, I tell you, I have to admit, y'all know my bias. My bias is that I believe everybody should be free to think what they want and do what they want, but just be informed. Hear all the points of view. And I want to say thank you so much. I hope you'll join me in giving a digital round of applause to our guest today, Dr. Oya Ma'at, professor of engineering at Morgan State University, also founder of a great cartoon series called Meltrek, which you guys should look up. MELTREK, Melanin Trek, like a journey. It's really, really good, really extraordinary. Everybody should Google Meltrek. Also, Zenkia Sankar Jabbar, a founder of Real Talk with ZSJ. Everybody go look that up. Follow all of these individuals online. Support their platforms, please. And also Julian Walker, CEO and founder of Push Black. I hope you also thank him as well. He's a good brother, smart guy, and I respect him a lot. And as I do all the panelists, and I just think it was awesome to have a chance to talk to y'all. All right, everybody. So hit the thumbs up button on the way out. Thumbs up, share, subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Also, if you want to check out my website and see what we have going on in our world, feel free to go to boycewatkins.com. You guys know that economics is my thing, and one of the things I love to talk about, and I love to help you in any way that we can in the Black Business School. So thank you all very much to the panelists, and God bless everybody, and y'all have a good Friday night, and we'll see y'all soon. Take care now.
Be one. Black
Be one.
power.
Be one.